Welcome back, YouTube. J Bob, the video game slob, coming back at you after way too many days of delay. Man, you always think you're going to get these things out and done, but life catches up with you. Busy selling a lot of stuff, busy at a full-time job, busy with a wife and kids. But we're not here for that. We're here for video games. And so I figured I'd show you a couple pickups I've done here. I'm really big on the Xbox One collecting lately. Print runs seem to be small. And there's a lot more interesting games on it than I think people think of. There are a few shooters. There's some RPGs. I think they're well under the radar. And they're kind of getting older, and so they're out of print. If you're not picking these things up, here's number one, Disciples Liberation. You may remember it as a PC game from years and years ago. Strategy, RPG. Yeah, I don't know why you should look at the back of a video game box anymore, because it never shows you anything. But yeah, just a game like that, kind of under the radar. People aren't thinking about it. This was straight, I mean, this is no secret. These are just Amazon deals. I think it was like 15 or 17 bucks, like all in, maybe with shipping. They had kind of a fast deal on that. This one was just $9.99, and any sealed $10 game I'm going to just add to the collection. I believe this one was once on Game Pass or something like that, so I don't remember a ton of it, but I do feel like I played it a few years back. So anyway, nothing too exciting with that. So there were the pickups that came in the mail, and I got one more here off camera. But I was like, well, that's not really a video. What else do we have around? What can we show the people? And so since the last time I was really recording for YouTube, and now one of the things that I started focusing on or sort of falling in love with in terms of video game collecting were the comics around it. I had always had a lot of the loose comics, but I thought, well, grading is so much more important when it comes to comic book collections and Pokemon cards and trading cards. And if I was going to like put some decent money into these things, you know, if you mail a comic book, you know, it costs like $6. And so I had gone to some comic conventions here locally and picked up comics for video games in the past, but, you know, for $1 or $2. But if I was going to pay like, you know, folding money for these things, I figured I better get them graded, because if you're going to pay $6 for shipping, you might as well pay for 11 and get a graded copy. And so, you know, that's what I started to do. So, yeah, the Zelda run is a lot of fun. It has some quirks to it. These kind of went up sort of more recently after they announced the movie, as comics do. If you want to get into comic collecting, be very careful with movies and licensing rights, because once they're picked up, the prices tend to spike. And so, yeah, so here's Zelda number one, Valiant Comics. And so this is the $1.95 price. So that means it is, and I'll probably tell you up here, it's the first Valiant logo, but it's the second print. You'll notice it just doesn't say, oh no, this is first print. Jeez, what am I saying? The first one was more expensive. Jeez, how did I, so this is the first print, first Zelda in an 8.0. And just to give you a sense of, you know, what an 8.0 means in comics, you know, it's pretty rough. A baseball card or a Pokemon card in 8.0 is in really nice shape. A comic book, not necessarily the same. So there you go. You want to find it with the $1.95 price tag to have the first edition of it. The second edition will say $1.50. So it's kind of funny that it got reprinted and went down. Remember that? Before inflation, when things like went down in price? Sonic has a rich and illustrious comic book run. This was a supplemental that ran in a number of places. So there's a lot of these out there. There's even, frankly, a decent amount of 9.8s out there. But just a really fun Sonic number one. It's not Sonic's first appearance. There's a lot of debate about what constitutes Sonic's first appearance, both in video games and in print or comic book media. But it's really cool. It's newsprint. You can tell it looks sort of faded because that's how newsprint was. This wasn't a high quality release, but a very early on Sonic that's interesting to have. I had picked up, I think, a couple of these series, like complete in bags. You could get all four in the series in like one bag. And so those were always cool. I've owned those for a while. They were clearancing them out at Ollie's, if you guys have Ollie's where you live. And so I thought, well, those would be really fun to pick up. They should be fairly common, graded. And so for a while they were. I really wasn't having trouble picking these up. But there you go. That's the 4th printing. I didn't keep any consistency. I don't believe we'll look as to what printing I got, but a 9.4 is in pretty decent shape. When you get into the range of a 9.6 to a 9.8, to if you can ever find a 9.9 or a 10, which almost never exist, they're getting up there. They're pretty minty, as you can see by the corners there. So number 1, not all that significant, and that was the Electric Tail of Pikachu. There's other Pokemon comics out there. Gears of War in a 9.2. A lot of times I was just picking up what was a good value at the time. I don't know if I own this in a 9.8 or not. I would certainly love to. It is now, I think, maybe $200 to $250 in a 9.8. Not an easy one to get. Going back to 08. It's hard to think about that now, but 2008, 16 years ago. And so here we go, Shinobi in a 9.6. I kind of had a panic moment the other day because this is something that got picked up. And all the comics that existed on the market just flew off the shelves. And now like a loose copy of this, I think, is maybe listed for $70, $75 to $100. I wouldn't buy into it right now with that. But it spiked very hard on news that it got picked up. And so you can see based on the Sega video game series there. And I didn't think I owned it. I'm totally forgetting that I had picked it up because I don't have it loose. And there aren't any graded copies out on the market anymore, that I owned it in a 9.6, so really grateful to have that grade. Just that little tick up there, maybe keeping it from a 9.8. So yeah, there you go. That's my tip. Go find a Shinobi in a dollar box at your local comic book store. A lot of people aren't going to know about it. Just fun titles that people probably didn't realize got comics. Primal Rage, exclusive preview of the video game, but back to 96, and so there's a lot of modern comics out there now that have a lot of video games things that have modern comics out there. I did try to focus on the more classic books or that kind of thing. So here you can see they didn't have a barcode because they were in a 4-pack, but Pikachu Strikes Shock's back. This is a different 4-comic series, 3rd printing at a 9.2, so certainly not mint, but a lot of these probably weren't 9.8s just because of the way they were distributed. But still, for a 9.2, it looks very crisp. 9.3, 3rd printing. Just great Pikachu, great anime art. I always love Pikachu when he's surfing. Kind of reminds me of Pokemon Snap. 9.4. So, all in the 9 above. Try to keep them at least in the 6 printing there. Try to at least keep them in the collectible range. But yeah, just Pikachu spazzing out. I don't know. Something about that I love. Going back to the Zelda comics here, it's oftentimes harder to get these later issues graded because who's grading comic number 3? Who was buying comic number 3? I really don't like getting things in 5.5. You can just see how trashed a 5.5 is. I mean, it is just messed up all the way around. But just great Link action battle artwork there. But this was dirt cheap. I think I bought this for less than the cost of grading it was. So, really cool. Glad to have that. Double Dragon. I don't know why, but in 1991 they decided Double Dragon was worthy of a Video Game Stars in their comic debut #1 for $1 and 8.5. Again, I didn't put a lot of money into this. Wasn't waiting around for a 9.8 or looking to spend what somebody would ask for a 9.8 because why? It's Double Dragon. But it is cool to have. There's a few variants on the. I think this is the first appearance of Master Chief in comics. I could be wrong. The Halo graphic novel preview, non-numbered edition. 9.6 is a strong grade. And you can see maybe just a little ticking in the corners. Not really any issues on the spine. I mean, 9.6 is pretty minty when you're talking about comics. There's the back art that people love. Master Chief and Cortana and the graphic novel coming soon, and so yeah, maybe if we go through more, if people tend to like this, we can go through more of the video game comics that I've picked up. This is only a bit of them, but I wanted to pick up something to show off. Street Fighter #1 from 1993, the first Mighty Fighting issue from Malibu. Malibu did a bunch of video game comics. I mean, I know they're sort of off model or off character from what we see in the video games. The hottest game in the world is now Malibu's hottest comic. So, there you go. Those are some comics I picked up, but I also did pick up, if we can move this one in here. This came in the mail today. Oh, look at that. I thought I had gotten all the tape so I could make this video nice and easy. Well, let's do the reveal. What did I grab? Oh, yeah, there we go. Awesome. I was waiting on this for so long, I forgot what it is by the time that it arrived. So I had found out again that Diablo did a comic. There's 2 covers. This is the more popular cover, or the A cover, if you will. I love it. I love Diablo. It looks as great as I hoped it was. I'll pick it up and enjoy it. I don't think I've seen a graded copy of this come around in a while, but who knows? Maybe we'll pick up a graded one. 64 pages, so it's super thick. But yeah, that'll be great, so I can read it. It's already, you know, a little used. You can see a tipped corner there, so this would not be one you'd send in for grading, but very happy to have this. And there you go. There's a little of video game comic collecting, if you weren't familiar. J Bob, the Video Game Slob, over and out.